as I'm thinking right now, I'm curious. I don't know what your relationship is with your father. Um, However, I'm curious as to what your idea or concept of manhood is.
That's a tough one. What my idea and concept of manhood is.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you this is, and it's something you might not know fully about me.
Okay.
Is I guess technically I have three fathers.
Okay.
Mom was around. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so the first one, my mom was young. She was in college. She was dating a guy. So we'll call him, A.
Okay.
He's the person that essentially gave the seed of life.
Okay.
And was never really around. I think I met him around 17, 18.
Okay.
So way late in there. The two people who I recognize and deal with and which represent fatherhood and manhood to me would be B and C. So B would be the father of my sister who came into my life really early on, raised me like I was his own. I had no clue until A came by and was like, "Yo, I'm your father.
Yeah.
Here's 17 years of support." That fiscal aspect that we spoke about, where this is my only job, and I'm going to jump back and forth, but Father A is very funny because if you know me and my humor and how horrendous it is, seeing it on someone else amplified was just like terrible. And I was like, man, F this guy. like we were just so identical, and like the humor aspect. And I never I did not meet him for 17 years. So I was in no way shaped or formed by him. And yet I have these characteristics and humor and things like that that are indicative of that person.
Wow.
But when I think about manhood, I think about Father B, Father C, whereas Father B was a hard worker. He was very diligent. He was always willing to take the blame, shoulder the burden, albeit in silence. And I think that's like very typical of most men in fatherhood manhood, where it's like you take your burden in silence, you kind of roll with it. But then there was also a point in his life where he opened up and he was like, wow, I'm really going through some turmoil. I need some assistance. He's like, I need to talk. And he would just, I'd be like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 or something like that. And he would talk to me about how, things are hard, but they're going to get better. I'm working hard so that we have a good life. I'm doing this for that, what do you want to do? He would ask me questions like that and just, try to get it out of me, see what I was interested in and, where I wanted to go from there. So the two aspects of, I guess, manhood that I learned from him very young is that, that first one where you don't have to shoulder the burden alone. You can, talk and have feelings and stuff like that. Albeit he was, very busy all the time. He was, trying to provide like, most people do. But when he could get that time, when he could, settle down and just hang out with the kids and stuff like that, he was very open. He was very honest. And, you could ask him, how's work doing? And he'd be like, it is terrible, but this is the best part of it. You know what I mean? Coming home, talking to the kids, doing that and so forth. And he would, do things like, get a dog for the house, like his kids like dogs. And if he can't be around, at least he sees that we're getting enjoyment out of the dog. But it's also very interesting because dogs are very good at, men and dogs kind of get along very well because dogs give you like unapologetic, unquestioned love.
Okay.
Which I think was very interesting and like me viewing as a child as to how he would just like, the dogs would pick up on your feelings. He would just hang out with it on the couch or something like that, after a long, hard day. And, he'd sit there and decompress for 10 minutes with the dog on his lap, and the dog would not ask a question. It would just understand completely and entirely. And then he would, work up the strength to, unpack with the kids, if that makes sense. So the first aspect of Father B and what I learned about manhood from him would be, don't be afraid to, talk about your feelings, and that, his recognition of you don't have to shoulder the burden alone.
I love that.
Yeah. So, that was pretty interesting. Father C came on later in my life. I got another sibling.
Okay.
From him, obviously. And I was a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and he taught me about what did he teach me about manhood? I'm trying to think about it, because I know he definitely I was in a wild period in my life, as like a teenager. I think most boys, they go through this, most fatherless boys, I'm gonna say it like that, even though I have 3. But I knew that they weren't my biological father, so I felt like I had some type of weird stuff going on there. But I was in a wild time. I was fighting. And he basically taught me that, as a man, it's better to walk away then do whatever your ego says.
Okay.
Because he was what I would consider a very smart gentleman. Like, out of the three, he was the one that was college educated.
Okay.
Very traditional. I'm pretty sure he went to Howard.
Okay.
So like, he's got a completely different background. Good for mom. So like, he taught me that you could be stronger with your mind, your intellect, a pencil, things of that nature, rather than your fist. Because I'm from Bed-Stuy. So like, things rock around way different out there. And he's like, I'm pretty sure he called me by like my middle name. He was like, Ty, you don't have to do this. He's like, just because someone talks some shit to you doesn't mean you gotta reciprocate. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to give him anything. It's like, you give him the power when you fall into your emotions and feelings. That's what he wants you to do. He's weaker. You can show him that he's weaker. Just like that same old thing that we're told all the time. And I'm just like, nah, you don't get it. You don't get it. But like, he was also like the first one at like, anytime I got in trouble in school, putting a brick in the backpack. Because guns are hard to get a hold of. That's a bad joke, and I'm very sorry. That was a very poor taste. But in New York, you don't have access to things like this, and as a kid, you don't have a very clear mindset. You just think, I'm gonna inflict some damage. And I think 3 kids jumped me one day, and then the next day, I came in with like a busted up face and a brick in my backpack, and I went after them one by one. And he was there just to talk to me and kind of talk to my principal, Mr. Muhammad, and just break down that these kids have essentially harassed me and so, and there was no he flipped it on them, and he helped me realize that his words do have power. And that to be a man, you need to be more than just physical. You need to have a mental tenacity, and you have to like think about your actions and how they affect others, because I feel like that's one thing that young kids going into manhood don't understand, is that like, yes, we're physical beings, and then like, white people consider black people in general to be more of like a physical spectacle. Like, they will watch fucking football all day every day, but the moment someone takes a knee for a cause, they're like, man, he doesn't respect the flag. It's like, no, you don't respect him. You're willing to watch black bodies on screen for entertainment, but you're not willing to help black causes. So just to recant, Father C taught me that there is more to manhood and being a man than just your physical strength and prowess. It's more so about how you navigate, how you communicate, and how you can use your words and your wit to get where you need to be. Because this man was basically a lawyer, and actually changed a lot of my mindset and what I grew up around, because I grew up around a lot of gangs and stuff. Okay. And Latin Kings, Bloods, all that stuff was on my neighborhood. 1 block was each, which made no sense in the grand scheme of things. Why can't y'all just have 3 blocks over there? And so he taught me to be above all that, and then understand what I'm looking for and how to communicate. And if I really want to beat someone, just, to crush them mentally, which is a terrible thing to say on the mic. But I became really good at what is it, your mama jokes and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah.
Like, if anytime
I'm finna verbally assault you,
right? Exactly. I'm gonna make you cry. Your mama's so stupid. She took a ruler to bed to see how long she slept. Like, yeah.
You said something, and you're talking about how white people tend to see black manhood or masculinity, and they'll watch, and it's a spectacle, right? And immediately what I went to is the scene from Django, man. Where they're in there and they're fighting.
Oh yeah, the Mandingo fights.
Yeah, and it's just like, bam, damn, like, wow, when you said that, it's just immediately what popped in my head, and I'm just like, yeah, they will watch that, but won't respect you. You know what I mean? So, it's your situation, and I would love to dive into it as much as you are willing to dive into it. I think it's unique, and I'm happy that you had the experience that you had, because you learned a lot. You got some really effing powerful lessons that a lot of a lot of people are missing. You know what I mean?
I'm just fortunate
in a couple different ways, right? You know,
yeah.
I'll go back and I'll start with A. My connection to what you just said with A. You're one of the first people that I've heard say this, aside from myself. So it resonated with me so much when you said this. So I didn't have a strong relationship with my father at all, really. Okay, biological father. My stepfather raised me. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, wow, man, similarity. Like, ooh, okay, cool, man. It's always nice to have stuff in common, right?
Yeah, but it's too common among our people, yeah.
That's a fact. That is a fact. That is a fact. And with my biological father, I've had 2 one-on-one sit downs with him. Okay. And we've had a couple of phone calls and conversations and stuff, but in these 2 conversations, these one-on-one, like we went out to dinner, I began to learn so much about myself, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was one of those things where there's sometimes you don't realize who you are. Until you explore, understanding or meeting that parent, sometimes it helps you get that, just that aspect of you that you're just like, okay, man, I didn't necessarily see myself this way or see myself that way, but you see yourself in that individual. And I think what is so cool about the experience that you had and the experience that I had is that because you didn't grow up with that person, the likelihood that you were conditioned or influenced by this, it's thrown out the window.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got pure DNA genetics,
which is terrible.
Whatever, just operating like this, and it's fascinating to me because my mom used to always tell me, she never talked bad about my dad, but she would always say, "Man, you just like your dad." And I'm like, I got
kid, that too, and I had no clue what that meant.
I didn't know what it meant. But I was a smart ass as a kid, man. So my response to that was, I can't be like him because he didn't raise me. You raised me, so I should be like you.
Yeah.
Right? And that made sense to me. And there was no way that you were going to tell me that it didn't make sense until I sat down
across from him.
And as he started talking, the lines began to blur. And I couldn't tell if I was having a thought, if I said that, or if he said that, because everything he said.
You're blowing my mind right now. This is the exact thing.
The way that he spoke, the word choice, the mannerisms, everything. I saw myself in him, and it was mind blowing.
I feel bad for our moms, man, having to grow up with us, little clones of.
Listen, it was mind blowing, bro. It was absolutely mind blowing. So I can only imagine what your experience was like because you're seeing this, and it's almost surreal because you're just like, that's me. Like, I would have said the exact same thing. I was thinking to say it like that, but you said it before me. Like,
yeah.
How? And what someone told me, and this is somebody that knew my dad, they said, bro, leverage that. And I was like, huh?
How do you leverage that?
How do you leverage that? And this blew me away because we're like, man, if y'all are that much alike, like my dad and I actually have the exact same birthday and everything, man.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's just uncanny, right? He said, if y'all think and you operate that, because the questions we were asking and this stuff and the questions we were having,
could plan those movements.
He said your dad has probably already looked at things the way that you're looking at things. So he's probably already made a choice in a lot of the decisions that you're going to make in life. Use that to your advantage. That could help influence your, Use that to your advantage. Use it to your leverage because it's like, okay, y'all think alike. So you're going to look at the options the same way he's looking at it. Oh, here's something. Okay, my choices are going to be either this or this. Well, what did he do? Ask him about this and how he saw it.
Right.
Oh, he chose to do this. So it doesn't mean that my thing's going to work out exactly like that, but I get the benefit of his experience because we think very similarly. And so I'm like, I don't know if that will help you. in your relationship and how you move forward?
No, absolutely not. I'm gonna interrupt you 1 second because I'm gonna say. So I told him I was engaged, and it's supposed to be like a really big moment in my life because I don't think he was ever married. I think he was like hood married, where he had a baby and they were living in an apartment or something like that. That's another story. But I told him I was engaged, and congratulations. Did you tell D? Granted, I'm not very familiar with his side of the family, so I think D is someone important.
Okay.
So I'm like, no, I didn't. Who's D? And he D's nuts to me.
Oh, no.
I can show you the text message. And I was just like, this is a really important moment.
Oh, man.
And so I was just like, I don't want to interact with this man ever, because he got me.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah, so when you talk about leverage and trying to use, his viewpoints and his pathways, I'm like,
oh, man.
This man is so unserious. So I'm just going to be the opposite of that. I'm going to try and be more, serious and take my, stuff a little bit more importantly. But I had to put my phone down and walk away because I was like, this dude.
Well, hey, maybe you take it, and it depends on all and how you look at it, man, how you frame it.
I'm going to get him back.
You got to.
Oh, yeah.
You got to. But I think that's the joy of life, man, is to be able to laugh and create moments. I guarantee you'll never forget that.
Oh, no, yeah, because I've been telling it for a minute.
It's going to make a hell of a story.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's going to come out at the wedding. Hey, you know what this said? Like,
listen.
It's funny, man. And so, I think, as you see him, as your relationship continues to evolve and develop with him, I think you'll continue to learn more about yourself. And that's what I use that relationship for. And I think my stepdad, my B, was a lot of the same. However, I didn't get the emotional part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was hardcore provider, and that's all he knew. That's what he demonstrated. You know what I mean? And so the first time I saw him cry, or show any emotion, man, his father died.
Oh.
And his relationship with his father was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how he would classify it, so I'm not going to necessarily speak to that.
That's fair.
But I know that it wasn't always the best, but I know he really loved his father. And I know they had plenty of interaction, over the years or whatever, like positive stuff or whatever. And his dad taught him some different things. But, I seen this man go through an enormous amount. And as you were speaking, you helped me just to, like, process, like, damn, yeah, like, I actually did pick that up from him. So
yeah, I'm
grateful for you.
I'm happy to be here.
And going through that, because he showed a tremendous amount of resolve and strength. And the only time, like I said, the only time I can ever, he went through a whole lot. Physically, just mentally, just all kinds of stuff. And when his father died, man, he cried, man.
Yeah, that's fantastic for him to do that, because...
Listen, so it was one of those cries, man, and I hate to say this, it sounds like funny or whatever, but it was almost like that one guy that the meme.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Kind of something like that, but it wasn't that, but
that's just a culmination of all that love and pain just all being released out,
right?
Yeah.
And so the cry, man, it was so, like, potent, man, that shit, my eyes started watering.
I was gonna say, like, that must be like a cry, but like other stuff built into there too.
Yeah, you could feel it. It was like palpable, man. And it was I was just like, wow, you know what I mean? I'm like, damn, this really must have, like, hurt in a different way, because I'm trying to think how old I was.
Off the record, I'm a 6'7".
Okay.
I'm 6 feet 7 inches tall. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, continue.
I think I don't think I'd ever seen him cry or express any kind of emotion in that was at least 20 years of my life, man. I can't even,
like, what's crazy is like when we see our father figures express emotion, after most times not, it's a big shift, man. Because I was saying, Father B was struggling and working hard, and there was a shift where he just became more pseudo emotional, I guess. To what you're saying, regarding your father, like you seeing him cry for like the first time. It's just like a basically guttural, like primal type, like I feel pain, like I need to let it out type thing. Like there was a big shift in Father B, because now he is the most, like if he was to represent something, it'd be love, if that makes sense. Like he has, I'd say probably like 8 adopted kids.
Okay.
Like, cause his heart has just been growing and growing and growing, because he's allowed himself to, feel feelings and not just, burden himself. He's taken on like other people's families, and adopted kids in bad situations, because he's just like, I love you, I'm going to show you what love is. Because I think he was telling me one time that he also has like a stepfather, and he has a biological father and a stepfather. And I didn't know that until very recently. So like that definitely impacts how he interacts, and how he, why he took me in, and why he takes other kids in, and why he, chooses to be that person, is because he knows what it's like, and he doesn't want, that very cliche, typical, you've seen a movie, the stepfather's just an asshole to, the kid because it's not theirs. Or even now in memes and in like, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok videos, like little jokes they do where it's like, you got a baby mama, but you got 1 kid from her, she got 3 kids, and you bring your kid McDonald's. That whole joke. Like he would bring all the kids food. Like he doesn't care. Like he's just like, they need to eat. So like
that's a special individual,
right?
I'll tell you. And I think the same thing about my my stepfather, man. Incredible individual. And it's one of those things where I think it takes so much to stand in the gap and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to assume some responsibility.
That's a hard place to be, though.
And absolutely, bro. You can say that again. I mean, you see
a lot of men right now, right? When we're looking for partners.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this, and please note that this is not my opinion. This is what's in popular media, what goes around. It doesn't make it right. But a lot of dudes, when they look for women, first of all, I don't know what the heck is going on in the way they like identify and they like try to get women, but they're looking for women with no children, with no history, no experience, no nothing. And it's because they don't have anything to offer, or want to do any work. Like, because the big thing I see amongst people, I guess, like 20s, 30s, like they want a woman younger, because she has no experience and she doesn't know that she's getting fucked over. But also, like, they really just are adamant about no kids. It's like, sometimes you can't get that. You can find a perfect partner, but if they have a kid from a previous relationship, that like, is that a, like, that shouldn't be like a huge issue to you. But I don't know, like the way they phrase it is just like, yeah, I ain't,
okay, let me dive in here.
No chick with no kids.
Let me dive in here.
Say it.
Because again, like I said, I grew up with my stepfather. My stepfather raised me, from the time I was probably 1, 2 years old up until now. He's still in my life now to this day.
Yeah.
Parents still together. So we're talking almost 40 years, right?
It's a long time.
Indeed. And the hood married too.
Hood married, baby.
But it's one of those things where at one point in my life, I was like, yeah, man, I'll never get with a chick that has kids.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I plan to do. I plan to have a conversation. So anybody that's listening to this, be on the lookout. We're going to have a conversation because I want to pick his brain. I want to know what within him made him say, hey, man, I want this woman who's already got 2 kids. She's got 2 little boys. And he ended up having my 2 sisters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Balance
so it's a total of 4 of us. Yeah. So like what I can't wait to pick his brain because, like I said, I think it takes a special individual. Now, myself, I was of that same mindset.
Yeah.
Man, I don't want a woman with kids, bro. And I was worried. I mean, I was really worried, like, man, I'm going to have to be like a damn stepdad. You know what I mean? Because it's I think part of it could be, I'll just say for me, you don't know what somebody else has imparted into their kids, you know what I mean? Or what that relationship is, you know what I mean? Because in my relationship with my stepfather, he really didn't do any kind of like disciplining. or that kind of different stuff. You know, my mom kind of handled all of that kind of stuff. We did listen to him. We respected him, that sort of type of thing. But, you know, there were certain things that I guess they had spoken, like, hey, this is how this is going to go. This is how we're going to, you know, operate with this. And so I just thought that it was a lot. And the only thing that changed my mind was the fact that I have a stepfather. And I was like, yeah, you know, how in the hell am I going to be like, yo, I would never be a stepkid to, or a stepfather to any kid.
Yeah.
And somebody stood in the gap and raised me and took me in and called me their own.
That's
like,
right,
how could I do that? You know what I mean? And at one point, it made sense to me not to do it. You know what I mean? But once I looked at it, it was almost like, all right, you know, I guess I would have to be at least open to that. And I did date a couple chicks that had kids. Not to mention, I worked with kids, you know, for years.
At an undisclosed place.
Yes. But I think, you know, I think I can't fault anybody that says, hey, man, I would like to have my own children. You know, somebody looking at it like, hey, man, all of this effort, all this energy, all of the work, we're calling it, like, I'd like to do it for myself, for my kid, right? Because some people can take it if their kid doesn't appreciate it, but to do it for someone else that's not yours and they don't appreciate it, that might be a hard sell. But that's the only thing I could think of.
I mean, that's what comes along with being a parent, though. Okay. Like, you know, you choose to be a parent in any regard, whether it's a, you know, step parent, you know, foster, you know, like whatever the case may be. Kids are assholes. They are not going to appreciate things until they grow up and they're wise and they are imparted the wisdom that you gave them. And it's kind of like a catch-22, right? It's like kids all go through that phase. Everyone that's, you know, been a child, unless you were, you know, cloned and, you know, made an adult. You know, when you were a child, you were like, you had a rebellious phase. You know, you had to grow. You wanted distance from your parents. You didn't think that they had anything in common with you. You didn't think that they went through things that you went through. And I feel like it's a part of the process.
Okay.
You know, you could be good. You could be steady, you know, as a father figure, as a stepfather, as a, you know, biological parent. Or, you know, you can, you know, let that get to you. I feel like a lot of things happen. What is she doing? All right. Wild dog on the loose.
Oh, is it?
Nah, I don't think so. I was going to say the big fear that I can see with just dudes in this generation that I'm in is like everyone's got their own baggage, right? If you catch a woman with kids, that's just baggage you can see. And I don't know if that's an inhibitor because you can actually see the baggage that they have. But a lot of dudes in our time period, I say, like, you know, ours, like, you know, what, like the millennial Gen Z type dudes, like they are not equipped with like that responsibility factor where they don't want to be responsible for additional things, including themselves. And, you know, you take into account the state of the world. And right now having kids is kind of a luxury that people can, you know, that the higher class people can afford essentially. Unless you really work at it, because I have two friends, two fathers, one of which is, you know, he has his own business. He's doing incredibly well. He has a kid. He's living like the life, like everything that you would see in a movie. That's exactly what's happening for him right now. The other dude, no, like he has a kid. Him and his wife are going through some stuff. You know, there's obviously money issues. Like there are literally two halves of the world that I'm watching through them, and I'm just like, that's crazy. You know, and they're both spectacular fathers, but they both face like completely different obstacles. And I feel like as far as like women having children and, you know, men's issues with baggage, even though we have baggage, I feel like, you know, we're in a world right now where having children is a luxury. A lot of dudes don't own up to their own stuff and they don't want to take on other issues, albeit like, you know, issues that they can see every day. I'm not calling a kid an issue, but like, when I think about baggage, I do think about children, but like the baggage that we can't see is often the baggage that we accept.
Well,
like if that makes sense, because
it makes plenty of sense.
You can ignore a girl that has, you know, like I don't know, trust issues.
Yeah,
you know, you can ignore them trust issues. You can get annoyed by them when you out at 2 a.m. doing what you're not supposed to be doing. Talk about why you got trust issues. Yeah. But, you know, when, you know, there's mouths to feed and, you know, kids to come home to, I feel like that's completely different. And it's more like in your viewpoint.
It is. And I would agree with that. I definitely think, you know, we oftentimes go for the stuff that, you know,
it's easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
who doesn't want the low hanging?
I would love to, you know, not now, I'm engaged, but, you know, I would happily date a woman with children because I don't have to, you know, endure 9 months of hell. You know, skip that process.
That's funny.
You know, like,
but I think that Father B has probably shaped how you see this because
that's
he's
fair.
Consistently grabbing and taking on and just showing love.
I talked to him the most as well.
You know, okay, and so I think that plays a huge part in it. And so what I'll say is this, you know, for all that my stepfather provided, there were still different things that I felt like, man, you know, I wish I would have gotten this, or wish I would have did this, or wish I would have had that, you know. And so there was still some involvement that he didn't have. And so I don't know if things would have been a little different, if I would have initially felt different, but I just felt like I was compelled to at least try it.
Yeah.
You know, and here's what I'll say. It can be tough, okay?
Yeah.
Because one of the chicks that I dated, her kid's biological father made things really, really difficult.
Yeah, that happens.
And so when you say the baggage, it's not necessarily the kid, but
true.
You know what could come with that if things are not on the same page with the parent, man, right? And
what's
so
that
can be a headache, bro.
There's a quote from a movie where it's like, you know, you boot up with her, you know, she got kids, you okay with that? You know, he comes out of jail on the 4th and 15th. Now, yeah, man.
Justin, that I'll tell you it's a challenge. It's that.
I would agree with you. I feel like I'm not even, you know, touching the tip of the iceberg on that. That's a whole different thing.
It could be. But I mean, hey, man.
Mothers we like to be friends with, y'all.
I'm just like, hey, man. You know, I'll say that it may not necessarily be for everybody. I think it's easier
for people that were raised by stepfathers and have that understanding of how important like a figure is to you.
And I get it, you know.
But then there are other factors, is what you're saying.
Indeed. There are definitely other factors, and those other factors can outweigh. It can outweigh. So you may have the intentions of like, okay, cool. Can I raise this kid? Can I do this or do that? You know, sure, I can take responsibility. I can feed him, provide him. You know, show love to him. You know, nurture him.
That's fair.
You know, I can do that. However, you know, is there any involvement from the other kid? Now, I'll tell you something that I heard, and some people didn't necessarily agree with it, but the idea of calling the stepfather dad, you know what I'm saying? So
that's an interesting one,
right? And so some guys is like, okay, if you want me to assume this responsibility, like, then we need to be all in on this.
Look how clean I look. Look how clean I look, though. Look at this.
Yeah.
Girl's gonna call me daddy, so I'm sorry.
Come back right here for me. So, it's one of those situations where the guy says, and this was I completely saw and understood where guy was coming from, and I felt like his perspective was 100% valid.
Are these too light to go over them?
No. I can outline that.
Can you please? That'd be great. I think my right side it hangs lower.
Okay. I'll adjust it.
I'm going to give a quick little recap. Father A, we learned that eventually he took responsibility, but in terms of being a man, we learned about responsibility and owning up to your stuff. No matter how long it takes, gentlemen, you can always go back and own up to stuff you need to do. We also learned that, I think as you put it, you don't know yourself truly until you know your past and your history. Mm-hmm. Father B, we learned about not shouldering the burden. you don't have to suffer in silence to be a man. What you really need to do is, be open with yourself, be honest with yourself, and lend yourself to your emotions a little bit. And Father C, we learned how to not just use our physicality, that we are more than just physical beings as men. We don't need to resort to violence. We could, use our intellect and our wits to get what we need and get where we need to get to, and, define a level of poise.
And now we're going back and forth about
stepfathers and their role.
About stepfathers taking on kids. So this guy said he felt like it was disrespectful for the stepchildren not to call him dad. And I was asking, the men that are kind of, in relationships and, or they're not with the mom and, their kid has a stepdad. And some guys are like, nah, that's crazy. But
I'll take a pops,
Listen, what the gentleman said, and I feel like it's really fair, man. I feel like it's really fair. He said, if you're going to expect or require me to be fatherly to this child, meaning I need to provide, shelter, food, clothing, water. I need to nurture. I need to protect, cover. I need to do the least you can do is call me dad.
Right.
The least you can do. And I'm like, well, damn.
I feel like that's also like in regards to how much the kids are messed up from prior, father relationships or, what their comfort level is, because some kids it's instantaneous. Other ones, there's some pushback. And then, like you said, there's a number of determinant factors. Like if the biological father is still in life. I've definitely grew up a lot around, terrible situations where, what is it? Like the mom would tell the dad, when they visit, when the kids are visiting on the weekend, the mom would just spread some gossip about the dad. Just, he got a new family. He don't want you around. Like that whole nonsense that is indicative of just like a bunch of terrible, shitty relationships. And so like I've experienced that. So like, that's a big factor too, man. You got your kids acting some type of way to you because, they were told some nonsense.
And so
factors.
I'll say this and we'll wrap up. I'm glad you said that because I've learned to have a whole lot more grace. This is the word I use with fathers that are not present or not active in their kids' life, simply because I don't know what the hell you were thinking or what you were going through. And so instead of me making all of these assumptions, maybe I should just try to allow you or create enough space to understand where you were. And, sometimes parents will tell a story and sometimes parents lie. I know it's hard to believe, but parents do tell lies. And they make up stuff because sometimes they get hurt or something like that. And it just, it can be different. But
can we come on this side a little teeny tiny bit? I don't know if you see it.
You said what now? Tell me what you see.
Does this need to be higher? I don't know. I could be holding the mirror wrong.
It doesn't look like it from here, and just in terms, because I'm looking like here and here in terms of where that is. But I will lighten this up right here.
Okay, copy you.
But I don't think it does.
I'm gonna need to get that 24 karat one day. My fiance is picking at my face. It's the next one.
Is it? You already made it?
No, I didn't book it yet.
Oh, okay.
Like, so the only 2 days I'm off, you're off.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like I'm always coming before work.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's fine. I don't really want to be at work anyway. Thank you for employing me, for keeping me employed. Just make sure that part doesn't go in.
I got you. But
oh yeah, we're gold.
I think that like I said, just the idea that, like, hey man, we're just, as kids we can kind of assume, my father didn't care about me, my father didn't this, my father didn't that. And so I just say, if you have the opportunity to have a conversation, and I'm glad that you reiterated that if you have the ability, it's never too late to go try to repair and, you know, make something of the relationship rather than allow it to be nothing. So I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate your wisdom, your advice, your experience, man. Appreciate you.